we start with some tragic news out of France. A Germanwings passenger jet has crashed in a remote area of the French Alps.
This happened not long ago. The plane was traveling from Barcelona, Spain to Dusseldorf, Germany. We are now getting reports that all 150 people on board are feared dead, and the airline is expected to hold a news conference coming up at any moment. Let's go to Bill Neely. He's live with the latest from London. Bill, what are the facts? What can you tell us?
Yes, good morning, Matt and Savannah. There does indeed seem little hope of finding any survivors on board that plane. In fact, at the moment, it's proving difficult enough to find the plane itself in some of Europe's most mountainous terrain. Most of those on board were either Spanish, German or Turkish. As for the cause of the crash at the moment, that is a complete mystery. It's a tragedy and a search centred on the most rugged terrain. This is the remote area of the French Alps where the plane with 150 people on board went down less than an hour into a flight to Germany. The crash site is said to be a 2.5-hour hike from the nearest village. This is the Germanwings plane, 24 years old, an Airbus A320, which was flying at an altitude of 38,000 feet when it began what appears to be a controlled descent. For at least 7 minutes, its altitude dropped at around 3,000 to 4,000 feet a minute, until at 10:47 local time, the pilot sent a distress signal. The French president says no survivors are expected to be found. He met the Spanish king today. 45 of those on board are believed to be Spanish, most of the rest German or Turkish. At Dusseldorf Airport, where the plane was due to land, distressing scenes as relatives were told the news. At least 400 search and rescue workers are on their way to the area. No bad weather conditions were reported during the flight. It is hoped the plane's 2 flight recorders can be found and analysed. But for now, the cause of this crash is a mystery. Yes, there is every hope, despite that rugged terrain, that those flight recorders can be found. And French air accident investigators are among the best in the world. So in time, the cause of this crash may well be discovered. But that, of course, is of no comfort to the relatives of those 150 people on board who are suffering so deeply right now. Matt, Savannah?
Yeah, Bill Neely in London. Bill, thanks very much. As the video showed us, going to be so difficult for this investigation. 2,000 meters up, 6,000 feet in the French Alps.
Incredibly rugged terrain, as we see right there. Let's turn to NBC's Tom Costello. He covers aviation for us. And Tom, I know you've been working your sources based on what we know so far. What do you make of these facts, in particular the distress signal that came, I guess, about an hour into the flight?
Yeah, so that's what's perplexing here. 90% of accidents involving commercial airliners occur on takeoff or landing. The fact that something happened here at altitude is really a concern. 38,000 feet, it then descends down to somewhere around 5,000 to 6,000 feet. And at some point along that track, this transponder code goes out. It's a digital radio transmission that essentially is declaring an emergency. It's not a voice transmission. It's a coded transmission. It's not a hijack code, by the way. It is a mechanical emergency of some sort, and then the plane, it appears, slams into a mountain. Why did this plane descend in rather orderly fashion from 38,000 feet all the way down to 3,000 to 4,000 feet per minute? Was it on autopilot? Was the crew incapacitated? Was there some sort of a pressure problem or a fire or smoke in the plane? These are all of the issues that investigators are looking at right now, and clearly the priority is going to be getting those black boxes, the cockpit voice and the flight data recorders, which should help to answer many of those questions. The Airbus A320, by the way, is a workhorse of a plane. It is flown around the world, here in the United States by U.S. Airways, American Airlines, of course, by United, very commonly flown in Europe and Asia and Latin America and in Africa. More than 6,000 A320s have been built since they were first rolling off the line. So they're really all over the world. And it's a very highly sophisticated, automated airplane with multiple backup systems. So for something to go wrong and create a situation in which the plane did this orderly descent and then it appears slams into a mountain, something simply obviously went terribly wrong, but the crew didn't have time to radio exactly what it was.
All right, Tom Costello, thank you so much. As we mentioned, there's a news conference going on right now, and already one heartbreaking fact to come out of it, Matt, that there were 2 babies among the 150 people feared dead this morning.